Basically, I think that, again, he was peaked incorrectly, and or it might just be really hard to peak him. I don't think it's really the guruing aspect. I just think his body is extremely tricky. What is up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Today's ASMR sip is 1907. Check out 1907.com. Coupon code Russo, and the ASMR spritz is Intelligent Elephant Carbon. Coupon code Russo. Young LA. Coupon code Russo. Is Big Ramy's career over? No. In my opinion, no. Saw a lot of circulating content after regarding Big Ramy's placing. You know, he was the champion and he got docked to 5th place, right? So big drop in the placings, but that's how the Olympia goes, right? Mr. Olympia is the most extreme bodybuilding competition on the earth. To expect these physiques to peak correctly year after year again is not always realistic, especially with Ramy, because his entire career has had trouble peaking his physique. Andrew, I also wanted to touch on that Big Ramy missed a guest posing at the Pittsburgh, which is the Big Boss's show. So when you don't show up, politics, right? If you're gonna not show up to the Big Boss's show unannounced and give no real reasoning, you know, I don't think he's gonna give you the 400 grand check and the title for his organization to represent his thing that he built. So there's that political aspect weighing in on his placing, not rewarding his behavior. And number two, I was talking to the King of Macedonia, Alek, about it, and Alek posted up a picture on the story that Andrew will throw up.
What's up, guys? It's Alex here. Ryan asked me to do a video to quickly summarize what I think went wrong with Big Ramy this Olympia prep, because evidently not only did he lose, he got bumped down from 1st to 5th place. And potentially even that was a gift, because the competition was literally insane this year. And, you know, they could have him as low as 6th or 7th without anybody complaining. So let's dive into what I think that happened with him. This is really my individual hypothesis, so, you know, I don't want people to get butthurt over what I say. So first of all, I think the main concern was his conditioning. If you look at videos throughout his whole prep, I think around 5 to 6 weeks out, he had a posing video in his locker room where he looked absolutely insane. So we're talking about the lower back fat phenomenon, this and that on Instagram. Well, if you look at that video, he has a shredded lower back, he has Christmas tree and all that, and I'm not talking about his back insertions or whether his lats are high or not, strictly speaking from a conditioning standpoint. If you look at the stage photos and his, you know, presentation on stage, his videos and everything, he was extremely soft. So I've also noticed on a lot of videos that he made throughout prep and pictures, he has a little discs on his triceps. Now, I do believe that those are blood sugar monitors. They are, you know, you can buy them at any local pharmacy, I suppose. They're more expensive than regular glucose monitors. You attach them to your triceps, and you can download an app on your phone, and you can scan them and you can see consistently your blood sugar reading throughout the day. So it tracks your blood sugar every 30 minutes or an hour, depending on the model that you have. And I think because of this, he was evidently using high doses of insulin and growth hormone. So the issue with this is and I see this quite often in other people, and this has happened to myself as well, because I've played around with growth hormone and insulin. They extremely have a tendency to overexpress the ROS system, which is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, which regulates fluids. So when he's in prep, he's dieting on low carbohydrates, on lower sodium intake, high water, etc. And his body got used to the amount of growth hormone and insulin he was taking relative to the electrolyte intake and the carbohydrate, and he was relatively dry. Now, when he, started carbing up for the show, that overexpressed ROS system in conjunction with the food that he ate and the electrolyte, the sodium and everything that he ate led to him retaining an insane amount of water in the interstitial layer, consequently causing a very smooth appearance to his physique. Now this will also make him to look significantly less muscular, because when you're less defined, there's less separation, less striations, and you look overall smaller while looking fatter as well. So that's the first thing. Now, another thing that I think was extremely detrimental to his appearance was were his bilateral surgeries on his quads. I do believe that he has had surgery, because in retrospect, if we look at where are the dents in his quads, they're identically placed on each leg, and they are typically at a typical injection site. I do believe that he has used SEO in the past, and if we look at in retrospect during Arnold Classics and Olympias in the past, since 2020 I believe, his quads have been questionable. When he was standing from the side and even walking on stage, his whole quad was moving and wobbling, but there was a part his outer sweep, not moving at all, and it was very suspicious, and a lot of people have commented on that in the past. So why did he get the surgery? I think that he basically developed something called a cold abscess, which is essentially your body forming a coagulation parameter around the oil that's injected, because the immune system can get eventually dysregulated and perceive the foreign infiltrator as a pathogen. And option A is to start creating antibodies and govern an immune response, and that's usually the onset of an autoimmune condition. But secondly, it can start forming a parameter, a coagulation around the oil, and encapsulating it to isolate it, and essentially causing it to look like a cyst within the muscle. And because there is no bacterial infiltrator, this will not cause a bacterial infection. There's no need acutely for surgery, and this is very benign if it just sits in the muscle. But because Big Ramy has been consistently building tissues, and growing throughout the years, I do believe that lump has created pressure on blood vessels, on arteries, and has cut out blood flow towards the muscle, and consequently potentially inducing tissue necrosis. And he had to have it cut it out, because he presumably felt some kind of health repercussions. And that's why it looks identical. It's on both quads at an injection site, the outer quad sweep. And I think he did it this year, and it looks fresh, and that's why it's so exaggerated. Now, another thing is, people have been talking about his lower back. He seems to have lost mass in his lower back, in his lower lats. But compared to when? If we look in retrospect, when he won the Olympia and the consecutive 2 years as he was a champion, his back is not different whatsoever. If we look at pictures from 2016, however, we would notice that there is a structural difference in how his back looks, and that's right. And even though potentially there may be some form of injury, some form of atrophying, building up throughout the years due to an injury, that's not recent. That didn't happen this year. That didn't happen a year prior. It's something that's from the past, and I think what really is the main problem is that he fucked up his conditioning in conjunction with the surgery on his quads, etc. Now, another problem that I've noted was his triceps. He did seem to have noticeably smaller triceps, and that could be injury, whatever. And his left lateral delt was extremely ballooned up with SEO. You could see that on stage. You could see that in progress pictures and videos he posted throughout his prep. And I think all of those factors, in conjunction with basically with the high level of competition, the fact that Hadi, Nick, Derek, and other people were like fucking on the money, that's why he lost, and that's why he placed where he did. Now, I don't think that this is a career in the ending problem. I think that he can go back to the drawing board, fix things, potentially, address the quads with additional surgery, physical therapy, putting on some more muscles on the quads and filling out those gaps. So I don't think that's the end of him. I think his coach has to say a few things about this. I haven't seen him taking any ownership whatsoever. And, it seems to be all Big Ramy's fault. I do believe that Chad Nichols actually is the one to blame, unless we hear otherwise, unless we hear that, Ramy disobeyed his coach or did something fucked up. But I certainly don't think that now he has had career-ending injuries, nerve damage, this and that happened this year, and it's over for him. I think people threw him under the bus for clicks and for, shock value without taking into consideration how the guy may feel and what's actually the truth. Because again, looking back at his 5-6 weeks out video updates, they do not coincide with what we saw on stage, and permanent damage or atrophying while you're on a fuck ton of growth hormone, steroids, and insulin cannot happen within a month. So that's my 2 cents on that, and talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Regarding that, I don't believe it's nerve damage. A lot of guys, Bodybuilding BS, said nerve damage, which is a common thing that happens with these elite super extreme bodybuilders. I'm not saying it's rolled out completely. I just think it's kind of crazy to again pin it on straight up nerve damage, as I am not a doctor, Nick is not a doctor, and Nick is obviously much more credentialed as far as an IFBB pro than me. I more see it just from a, my fake guru tinfoil hat perspective of Big Ramy's physique requires, in my opinion, a shit ton of growth hormone or anything that's modulating IGF, which is going to have an impact on the blood sugar as far as refilling out that amount of muscle. And specifically, you can freak out the renin angiotensin aldosterone system, the RAAS system, which could cause an influx of water, lose all the detail when you're trying to refill out the physique. So we have Ramy 1 week out or 6 weeks out, whatever Alek posted, but basically 1 week out, he still had a perfectly shredded Christmas tree that if he would have showed up around 1 week out, he probably would have placed higher. I don't think he would have won just based on the fact that he didn't show up to Jim Mannion's guest posing unannounced, right? No reasoning to not show up other than he's an Egypt royalty and doesn't want to go to Pittsburgh. But basically, I think that again, he was peaked incorrectly, and or it might just be really hard to peak him. I don't think it's really the guruing aspect. I just think his body is extremely tricky because he has the most muscle tissue pretty much ever in existence besides like Ronnie. So basically, I think that's what happened. I don't think it's nerve damage, and I think that, his next show he will bring in a much better look, and that he just missed the Olympia. I don't think his career is over at all, and I think it's easily recoverable. And like I said, if you watched him up to the show, that nerve damage would have shown itself, right? The whole time you would have been like, his body is fried. There's obviously something weird going on. If you watch him all the way up in the videos he's posting, you more allude to around the fact that, he's on a ton of GH to maintain all that tissue. When it came to peaking down, he freaked out his RAAS system, and then that caused watery look. That's as easy as that. It's very complicated at that level of biohacking to, again, peak a dude who's 280 on stage, right? And have him come out with detail as well. Could have say he could also picked a lighter stage weight and refilled out with the detail. It's up for debate, but I definitely don't think it was just nerve damage. I just think he literally missed his peak, and that if he showed up a week earlier, he would have done way better and he would have had a visual Christmas tree, because he already did the entire prep. He's had issues in the past peaking. That physique is extremely hard to nail, and like the whole hype around Ramy is like, once this dude comes in on point, he's going to be unstoppable. It's very difficult for him to come in on point for whatever reason. He's hard to figure out. He switched coaches I don't know how many times trying to nail it. So that's my thoughts, and shout out to Alek for the idea. Check out his services below.